Hey Grace, so we had two specific things to work on today. One was your, actually three specific things. This one was your drill for your pivot with your lower half to stop your pelvis turning and rotating too much, your hips rotating too much, and then also reverse rotating towards the target. So just looking at the takeaway here, looking at the backswing. When the club gets moving back, we can see how on this right panel, how your butt kind of starts to move back this way, but if we had a point on your lower back behind you here, you would be moving back towards the target. So that also encourages your shoulder turn to be too great. When your shoulder turns too much, the club shaft's going across. So we can see as you move back down here now, everything's a long way forward. So your body, your center of your mass is way ahead of the ball at this point. So it's too far ahead. We can see when you get to the ball, you have to reverse back a little bit too. You can see your head's forward, and it tends to come straight. It stalls and then stops, then moves forward afterwards. But your center of mass is too far forward too early. Looking at the drill on the left-hand side, so the drill on the left-hand side, we can see when you turn back, obviously your right hip and your right leg is bracing the turn. We're trying not to turn your hips. We can see that you've got a different amount of shoulder turn. It's probably 10-15 degrees less than what it was. When you plant your left side and you get back to the ball here, we can see how much more in line your body is with the ball, so it's not so far forward racing past the ball. So that's the purpose of this drill, to get the hips not turning so much, to get your right side bracing and loading more, and your hips not turn so far behind you. Grace, the next thing we tried to address was your setup. We're trying to get your shoulder, your right shoulder, to be further down below your left shoulder, so try and drop your right shoulder in and get your right elbow more by your side. Your right hand was going to be more under to the side of the shaft. The other thing we're going to do is with your setup. Now you feel like with this setup here that your hips are really turned out to the left, but as you can see, we can still see a little bit of your left knee here. We can still see a little bit of your left shoulder here, so that's perfect. So your shoulders are square, your hips are square, your knees are square. You felt like to do this that you had to open up your shoulders a little bit as well. So your hips are a bit more open, your shoulders are a bit more open, and you're more tilting down behind it with your right side. So that's where we want you to start from. So that starting position is going to match up to what we're trying to achieve with your hip turn. It should make that more easy to do. And then from here, we need to start changing your shoulder pivot. So we've got the setup, the backswing pivot with your lower half, and then we've got the shoulder pivot with your left shoulder in particular. Now as this club moves back, we'll see a very different movement pattern here with your left shoulder. Now we haven't tried to change the takeaway at all, but by getting the left shoulder dropping down and working as it should, watch what happens with the club and the takeaway. Automatically it starts working back up the shaft line that we want it to work up. Okay, unfortunately my camera work wasn't so good there. I was excited about watching you hit this one.
Well, as dogs stupid.
One of the world's smartest breeds. Are you in good hands?
So it's ever so slightly under.
Try capsaicin HP. Purified capsaicin penetrates deep.
But still a lot better. And we can see here it still tries to cross. Now that crossing is happening for a few reasons. One, we've actually got something going on here with your head, which is interesting. We've worked on your head angle for quite a few times over the years. We'll need to readdress it again here to match it up, but the head angle doesn't get crossed until about here. So the shaft, the club, at that point is in pretty good shape. Then when your head starts to cross, that's when when your head starts to steepen, that's when the shaft starts to cross. So we'll have a look at that head angle, and we'll also probably need to change the way your arms and hands feel here as well, because they don't need to get crossed anymore. They don't need to go into that motion. That was happening a lot to do with the club, because the club was so flat and open at the start. So looks good, really good positions from here, feels pretty funky. Those three things will take a fair bit of work for you to get comfortable with, but this is the time to do it. We want to try and get you comfortable with these motions here now, so when you go and play in tournament golf in the fall, you're in shape and ready to go. Good luck.